Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to NT Racing League. This is going to be the final round of Season 1, which is essentially just kind of a test season for my own racing league, just to kind of see, how popular it will be, how it will work, and then kind of, hopefully, if there was enough interest, basically take it into Season 2 with kind of all the ideas that we've gathered through Season 1. And basically make them a reality. So, we did have 3 categories continuously running in Season 1. We had the Mazda Roadsters, which was won by Tiemo with a round to spare. And then we have the Mini Challenge and the Super Tourers. So both of them are still up for grabs, as well as kind of individual and manufacturers in the Super Tourers. So this is going to be the last round of the season. This was just when Road Atlanta got added to the game. So yeah, I mean, it was a nice, fresh new track. So that's where we hosted our final round of the season and of the year. So let's get into it with the Mazda footage first. So for the final Mazda Roadster race of the season, it's a 3-lap sprint, obviously at Road Atlanta, which was freshly added at the time, as well as qualifying. So we managed to get a proper qualifying session underway before we got the race underway. So, pretty decent lineup, I'd say. Pretty, mixed up compared to the usual. We do have some of the usual suspects. Obviously, we've got myself and Tiemo up front. We've got Jace up there as usual. Genie having a much better time. He's really kind of settled himself into the league and kind of became a mainstay. We've also got Archangel performing well, Tomahawk as well. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a decent, little race. Again, just kind of, keeping it short. It was coming towards the end of the year. I kind of wanted to wind the league down, ready for the new year, and get Season 2 started. So we're going to do a few shorter races than usual, as well as Road Atlanta being kind of a new track to all of us, especially in terms of Gran Turismo 7. I just decided to keep it more on the shorter side for the events, just so people didn't get kind of overwhelmed by a completely new layout, especially those that might not be kind of, necessarily the best racers. The worst thing you can do is kind of just chuck them in a track that they have no idea on, of had little practice on, or little time to practice, should I say. So this was only, I believe, like 3 days after the track came, so we kind of just kept it to a minimum for the season finale, especially kind of for the Mazda Roasters. It was already decided by Tiemo, and as you can see, he's already putting up a fight. Obviously, our little German Stig, that we like to call him, always performing well, and obviously to round up a championship when there's only 6 rounds, obviously with a round to spare, he could, he didn't have to take any risks or really take the win. So we've got myself leading on the end of lap 1 with Tiemo in P2 and Genie in P3. So it's just basically going to be us 3 pulling away from the rest of the pack. But as you can see, Genie's just trying to hold in there, should I say. A little further back there, we've got Archangel performing very, very well. Hori's in a bit of a irregular position. I'm not quite sure what happened to him. The Mazda's being replaced for next season by the proper touring car version. That's the older model, mainly because a lot of drivers were just complaining that they'd be very kind of difficult to control at certain tracks. Some tracks they perform well, and then other tracks they'd just be like the worst things ever to drive. So they were very hit and miss. So that's hence why we're kind of phasing them out for Season 2. Again, just little improvements we've found through Season 1 to just make Season 2 more enjoyable and more accessible to more people. So if we look down the grid, as you can see, we've got Jody, Tomahawk and Adam, as well as Andy dropping quite a few places after lap 1. So I'm not quite sure what happened to him. And then we have Adam bringing up the rear. We also had someone leave, and that was actually Jace, I believe, that retired from this race. So let's go and see what happened to him. As you can see, we're near the start of the track. He's going to take a nice whack up the rear end, and it's going to spin him out, and he's going to retire from there, sadly. So we did lose Jace from this race. So it was Archangel that hit him in the rear. Let's see what happened. I think, again, it's just the unpredictability of the Mazdas. No one really kind of at fault. I guess Arch was, because he went into the back of him, but these Mazdas are just an absolute handful and a bit of a nightmare for some at certain tracks. So Genie's going to have an off. This is what I mean by the car just does not like to perform under braking, and Hori's going to join him. He's going to go for a nice slide around the outside of Genie and then tap him in the rear, but Genie does manage to kind of get away with it. Hori's then going to take himself off of the racing line and just keep himself really out of the way. It's a bit of a blind hill before you go back down, so it's probably the best thing to do. In the end, I did manage to take the win. Tiemo getting a penalty really kind of just took him out of the fight there, but Tiemo has won the championship, so well done to him and well done on his P2. Alexander gets P3 with Genie taking a P4 even after his off. Largent's going to get P5, so that rounds out the top 5. Archangel a very good P6 even after the contact with Jace. Hori, Stee, Andy, and then Tomahawk's going to round out the top 10 for the Mazdas with Jody in P11 and Viper in P12. And last off, we had Adam in P13 with the retirement of Jace. So let's go ahead and check the point standings for the Mazda Roadster Cup at the end of the season. We had Tiemo win it, obviously with a round to spare, 280 points for him. Myself in P2 with 201. Alexander takes third with 185, and then with the best of the rest we have Largent with 180, Jace 173, Demonetized Vet with 170, Hori 125, the bin is here with 71, Steve with 68, Archangel with 66, Genie he's going to take 62 with Viper on 60, Andy on 49, Adam on 32, Tomahawk he's going to take 26 points. Ultimate Player was a stand-in round 1 with 25, Vinny Bear 17 with 23, Jody 18th with 18, Frogging Bullfish with 10, Psychic with 9, Ramsey with 5, Samurai Shepherd with 5, Reed with 4, and last off we had McJiggle with 3 points. A lot of them kind of standing, so we had 24 people take part in the Mazda Roadster Cup over the entirety of the season, so thank you so much to everyone that took part and stood in when certain drivers couldn't make it and stuff. It was a very good season, and mostly well done to Tiemo for taking the win with a round to spare. Excellent from our little German Stig, and I hopefully will see him back in season 2. So that's the Mazda Roadster Cup done with. Next up we have the Mini Cooper Challenge. This one's yet to be settled, and it's mainly a head-to-head between myself and Alexander, just like with the Super Tourers. So we have Hori on pole for this one. As you can see, the two main people that are in for the title fight, myself and Alexander, are both in second and third respectively, and it's going to be Alexander who's going to get the better start, as I end up falling back a little bit with Genie ready to go around the outside if anything were to go wrong. Hori's going to take a nice clean start though. He's going to lead the way. He's definitely been a standout for the second half of this season in terms of kind of the minis, especially. He's been absolutely phenomenal in them. I believe he's won every round since he took part in them, so he really would have been up there to win the championship if it wasn't for kind of starting around about the halfway point. But Alexander's got a decent start as well. These are the main two that we're going to focus on, is myself and Alexander. Obviously we're racing for a championship here, one of the kind of side category championships, but people are going to take them important, especially in the later stages of the season, especially if they know they're in for a chance as we go side to side and bump doors. We're going to try and get it around the outside of Alexander, but he's just going to get the better line as we run onto the grass a bit, a little bit too deep there on the curb. So we are going to have to just basically stay in P3 for now and hope we can get a nice slipstream. But we also have the likes of Tiemo and Genie running just behind us, also in the slipstream. So Alexander is going to lead the way in terms of the championship. I believe it was a 20-point deficit I had to him. So we did have a lot of making up to do if we were going to win it. Obviously with having Hori in P1, it was again looking like an impossibility. I basically had to hope that something would happen to Alexander and he would drop all the way down. So we see Genie in the background there also getting a penalty. Track limits a little bit hit and miss here. Obviously people not having the most time to practice, obviously with it being a fresh track, so it was new for everybody. But as you can see, we're riding on board with myself as we try and see if we can find a little gap on Alexander. There's not going to be one there. We're not going to be able to kind of just throw it up the inside. So yeah, we're going to try again up the hill. Bit of a blind bend as you can see, but always produces pretty damn good racing around here. I really did enjoy just the amount of action that was going off, even though it was kind of on the quieter side in terms of people in the event and stuff. Again, it was kind of winding out the year really, keeping the events nice and short, but there's plenty of action to be had, especially with the unpredictability and a new challenge of a new track. It really did cause people to make errors that they might not usually do. Turn 1 especially, this track was causing people a lot of problems. So as you can see, Alexander is just keeping it nicely in P2, but we're going to look on Stephen a little bit back. He's going to run onto the grass, get it all wrong, and this is what I mean, the new track, new challenge, and he's going to put himself down in P15 in last place. Alexander, though, he managed to keep himself in P2, getting a gap to myself. I believe I made a bit of a mistake and ended up with a penalty, hence why I've dropped back so much. So he's pretty much got the championship, at least one hand on the championship. Hori, though, he's going to manage to take the win for the Mini Cooper Challenge. Absolutely great drive by him, with Alexander coming across the line, and he is going to take the championship. Nobody's catching him at this point, so well done to him. That is our second championship wrapped up. Myself in P3, just not enough today. And then a bunch of cars. We've got Tiemo, Genie and Jace all going across the line almost at the same time, so great to see that still going on, even at the likes of Road Atlanta. Demon's going to take P7 with Arch in a very good P8, Largent P9. Not his best result really, but still a solid inside the top 10 finish for him. And he's going to take P10 just over Viper. As you can see, Viper just getting a penalty there on one of the last corners, so he's probably going to be kicking himself for that one. So Viper takes P11, Andy P10, Steve recovers to P12, Tomahawk got P13, and Jody takes P14. Or will she? No, she will not. Adam just getting her at the line there. Great racing even at the back of the field. She's probably going to be gutted with that finishing last in the final race. Adam just pipping it. I'd love to see how close that was if I still had the timing board, but it was absolutely incredibly close racing. So there is your second championship in the second category. So we've got Tiemo, the champion winner of the Mazdas, and Alex winning the Mini Cooper Challenge. So there we have it. He's going to top it with 255. Myself in second with 230. Jace, the kind of the top three, so Jace 187 in third, and then best of the rest was Hori with 180, Largent P5 with 160, Demon 157, Tiemo 120, not doing as well in the minis, Viper P8 with 117, Archangel on 97, Genie on 95, Andy on 69, Steve on 48, the Binners here 45, Adam 40, Ultimate Player again is standing in round 1 with 20, Jody 16th with 18, Vinny Bear on 13, Tomahawk on 12, Ramsey on 10, Reed on 9, Frogging Bullfish on 9, Psychic on 9, McJiggle on 5, and Samurai Shepherd in 24th on 5. So there we have it. That is the Mini Cooper Challenge done and decided. So well done to Alexander for winning this category. Obviously myself and him do have one more category to take on, that being the main feature of this kind of league, I guess, the Super Tourist. So it's going to be basically Suzuki versus Mazda for the final time. Let's see who's going to come out on top. I think this one will be very interesting, but well done to both Tiemo and Alexander for winning the side categories of the Mazda and the Mini Cooper Challenge. So let's get into the Super Tourers. So we've got Hori leading the way, a great qualifying result for him, with myself in P2 and Alexander in P3. So yet again, we are going to get a decent start this time. Alexander does drop back a little bit, already in P5 by the time we get to turn 1. Not a great start for him. He does make his way back up to P3 there, with a nice kind of inside line, trying to avoid all the carnage, as we end up with a little battle with Hori, who's driving the Honda. So Hori's going to lead the way as we go down the hill for the first time, from myself and Demon, who's got himself right up there. Jace in P4 now, Viper in P5, Tiemo P6, and Genie ahead of his teammate Alexander, who's now dropped to P8, literally within a matter of seconds. So really close racing going on throughout this field. As you can see, I'm basically just trying to get myself as high up the grid as possible. I believe I did have a decent point gap over Alexander, but with the Super Tourers having 3 races per round, anything can really happen within those 3 races. So run of bad results means that I could easily lose this championship leader. To receive Viper's got himself a half a second penalty early on. He's going to save that quite early, but then essentially just ends up with a cluster of cars around him. His teammate goes flying past him into P4, but then he has the likes of Jace, Alexander's also up there, and Largent in the Subaru, basically ready to charge him down at the slightest mistake. So Viper and Jace almost going side by side. In fact, Jace Jace does make the move. He's going to try and go around the outside there. It's going to be a great move if he pulls it off. So let's see. I'm expecting Viper to come off better. Just more grip in that Genesis. A very, very good car. Probably overall the most consistent car of the season, followed by the likes of, you know, the Subaru, and I'd say, you know, partially the Mazda more at high speed tracks. And Viper then does have an off. He does manage to keep it going, but he's then going to go straight across the track and slap the other barrier on the opposite side. But he does keep it going though, but he's dropped down to P10 after that off there. Tomahawk's now in P11. Again, a driver that's kind of, you know, been further back this season but has improved round to round. Adam, he's battling with Jody for P12, I guess, so they're going to go side by side. Jody gets it a little bit wrong and they both take each other out. I believe Jody more at fault there completely, so yeah, a little bit of a poor move there, but Adam does manage to get out going pretty quickly. We also have Archangel all the way back there, so I'm wondering really what's happened to him for him to drop back really so much, because he's not usually there. Usually he's up there with his teammate battling side by side. So we're going to have a look here. He's going to come off the big long straight. He's going to get into the side of Jody, and then Adam's going to give him a little nudge and he's going to end up in the gravel and essentially just spin himself around. He's going to manage to get it going again, but as you can see, it's put him all the way down in P15 and last, so he's not going to be too happy with that. He does do a nice little burnout, as you can see, managing to keep it under control. Hori had a little off, and that allowed myself and Demon to go through, you know, both in 1 and 2. Again, myself and Demon battling it out. Another person that's been very, very consistent throughout the season, with a couple of off rounds, mainly round 1 and round 5, but apart from that, he's been absolutely solid. Also helped by just how, you know, competent that Genesis is pretty much everywhere. So we're going to try and hold him off as we go on to lap 4. As you can see, I managed to get a little bit wrong, and Demon's going to basically just get himself up the inside and get it done before we even get into the part where we go back down the hill. So very good move by him, nice and clean. And then again, we're going to have the advantage on the straight. Obviously the Mazda an absolute bullet in a straight line, and we're going to try and make a move on Demon here. We basically push each other as wide as possible. We're going to have the inside line. We do get it ahead going into that corner, and then we're essentially just going to go and have a nice run up the hill before it slopes back down. As you can see, Demon's pretty much all over my bumper at this point. This is a little bit later on lap 7. He's going to get the better drives through corners and out of corners. Just a lot more grip in that Genesis, a lot more kind of drivable, I'd say, especially, you know, in terms of this track. As you can see, the Mazda just going massively wide there, and Demon again is going to make basically a repeat of move of earlier. So he's going to get it up the inside, get it done, and then as you can see, just mistimed the turn there, and that's going to give myself a penalty and basically cost me any chance of winning this race. So that's me out and done. So in the end, there could be only one person that realistically could win this race, and that was going to be Demon. So he's going to take another race win in the Genesis. Well done to him, with myself in P2 after my penalty. Tiemo a very good P3 for Renault. Hori's going to go P4 in the end, with BMW Jace in P5. Very well done to him. Good result for the BMW. Gene is going to come ahead of his teammate in P6. Great result for him, with Viper in P7. Again, another solid result for Genesis. Going to allow them to, you know, possibly take the Manufacturers Championship with Suzuki, dropping a few points there. So Alexander P8, Largent P9, and a little bit further back we had Steve round out the top 10 in the first of the Toyotas. So P10 for Steve. Archangel, again, his teammate, inseparable, these two all season, is going to take P11. Decent recovery from him, so well done after that early spin. Then we had Jody in P12 and Tomahawk P13, with Andy a lap down in P14. So there we have it. That is the first race of 3 over and done with. So up next we'll have the reverse grid race, so let's go and check it out. So leading the way on the reverse grid race is going to be Andy, but as you can see, his tyres are pointed to the right, and he's just going to pull off and basically retire there and then. So this is going to give Adam a great opportunity to get a good launch. Tomahawk not getting the best launch at all, really not being able to take advantage there in the Renault, dropping all the way back into the pack. So here we go, we've got Viper and Adam and Largent as well also in there, as Viper goes off again, as well as Alexander in the background there, I believe. Also going wide, as I believe that's Genie just up ahead. We've got the likes of Tiemo, Tomahawk. As you can see, Viper dropped all the way back to P12 with Alexander dropping all the way back to P13. Andy essentially just letting the AI take over at this point. So it's basically going to be Adam, who got a great start, but then he's absolutely thrown himself into the gravel. This is allowing Demon to basically run away with it at this point. And we all know if that Genesis gets a bit of a clean track and doesn't need to battle with anyone, it's going to be the best car on the grid. So, you know, pretty much confirming that Demon will win this round. Then we have Jody in P2, myself in P3 with a ½ second penalty, which isn't great. So we're just going to try and essentially use our teammate to give us a nice draft and get us as far up as possible. So we try and lose as little time. So we're just going to stay on the bumper, get in the draft, and then we're going to serve our penalty. We've got Steve in P4 there, as well as the likes of Jace, Tiemo, Viper already recovering to P7 there, as we essentially drop back to P6 currently. I believe Viper's going to get it up the inside, so we're probably going to make that P7 as we're getting a bit of a sandwich with Tiemo and Viper. As you can see, we're going to go back for the run up the hill, so we have managed to essentially stay in 6th after that penalty. So we're going to continue battling with Tiemo. As you can see, everybody basically together. We've got both of the Suzukis up here as well. So Alexander's had a decent recovery lap there, as I believe he's now the leading Suzuki. As everything starts kicking off, everybody's just all over the place. I'm not quite sure what happened there. I believe we had Jody going wide, Steve having a wobble, as well as we end up with another ½ second penalty, which is not exactly really what we want at this point in the race. As you can see, Viper's going to go through. He's now in P2, so although he dropped to P12, he's now up to 2nd. As a bunch of guys go off, the likes of Tiemo. I believe Alexander might have gone a little bit wide there. Viper going wide again, so that's allowed us to get ourselves back into P2, with Demon essentially just running away with it at this point, uncatchable. As Tiemo goes for another off, slaps the barrier, and basically comes to an abrupt stop. So it's not really what he'd be, you know, hoping for. Obviously Tiemo very fast, a very rare mistake from our little German Stig. So P1 is going to go to Demon for the final reverse grid race of season 1. He's going to win that one nice and easily, not battling with anyone really. So great job by him. We're going to get P2, again just hoping that that gives us enough points to win the Super Tourer Championship. Alexander P3, so keeping it nice and close. Jace P4, Viper P5. We then have Steve in a very, very good P6 there in the Toyota. P7 goes to Genie, and Tiemo, he's going to take P8. He's essentially, oh no, he's not going to take P9, so he goes through the pits. Arch takes P8, Tiemo takes P9, frustrated with that off, I believe. Jodie's going to round out the top 10, so that's going to be another top 10 for her. Definitely improving towards the second half of the season, so well done to her for another solid, you know, inside the top 10, should I say. Tomahawk is going to take P11 with Andy essentially just letting the AI take over, so he's going to finish last in P12. So that leaves us with one more race to go, our pit stop race, the longer race. So our longer race and our final race of the season, the pit stop race, is going to be myself taking pole for this one, as well as the likes of Demon, Tiemo up there, Alexander up there, Viper also up there, getting a brilliant start. But again, the pack's going to close up on this rather awkward turn 1, so it's going to be myself and Demon battling away for the majority of this event. So here we go, we're going to lead the pack away over the hill and back down again. Again, Demon just basically sticking to us it's very, very closely. It's just unbelievable how many battles I've had with him throughout the season. If it wasn't for those couple of rounds where he's just kind of let himself down a bit or had contact, then honestly he'd be up there easily battling for the championship with myself and Alexander through the majority of this, to be totally honest. But if it wasn't for him and both his teammate both being consistent, apart from maybe the odd round, so Genesis wouldn't be so high up in the standings. So they do have that as a bit of a consolation. So I don't think Demon can win the championship, but he can still go and win races, as he basically sticks to our bumper on the run down the big straight. Obviously the Mazda does have the faster top speed, so that's what he's taking advantage of, and then he's probably going to try and make a move at the end of the straight. I believe we do have him covered off, or do we? Yeah, just so we do have him covered off through there. So we do have Largent now in P3 as well, so you know, very good from him. He's probably been a bit in no man's land really this race, sorry, this round, but he's having a very good P3 at current. Tiemo, again, another very fast driver with Viper in P5, another solid result for Genesis there if this gets pulled off. We also have Jace in P6, Genie in P7, and Archangel in a very good P8 currently, with Alexander down in P9. I think that's his championship hopes pretty much done with at this point, as Arch goes wide. He's then going to go, oh no, he's managed to catch it this time, so great for him. That's Alexander through into P8, and then Steve, his teammate, again behind him. So yeah, these two just inseparable, these little Toyotas. Obviously a car that won't be returning for next year. Tomahawk in the Renault, he's now P12 and last. We also have Jodie in P11, so well done to her. As night fell, it was myself and Demon battling away as the Mazda goes wide, but the Genesis goes, well, even wider into the barrier, but plenty of time to pull it back. That's only on lap 4. People are going to make mistakes, people are going to, you know, lose pace or gain pace and stuff, so, you know, he's not lost too much time. There's his teammate just behind him. A little bit further up, we had Demon and Jace battling it out. The Demon is going to be the first to pit on lap 7, so let's see how he gets on. It's quite a short pit stop, I'd say. You know, it pretty much instantly takes you into well, the pit stop animation, but then it's quite a long drive out of the pit. So whilst it's quite short on the way in, it's very long on the way out. So we have a bunch of people pitting. We have Demon pitting, Largent pitting, Tiemo pitting, Viper pitting as well. So both Genesis in the pits now, and we're going to go on board with Viper on the pit exit. So we're going to see how long it is to basically come out of the pits. As you can see, it just seems to go on for absolutely forever. We also have Steve in the pits as well, so that's the first of the 2 Toyotas now pitting for tyres as his teammate goes through, I believe. Yes, he does. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's just a long drag pit out. It just seems to take forever, and then you up the hill, and the track limits on that pit exit are very, very fine. You really can make positions or lose positions there, and, you know, get a ton of penalties if you had to pit more than once. Next up, it's the 2 Suzukis to pit in. We do have both Alexander and Genie pitting for tyres, so it's going to be interesting to see kind of where the gap's at. So Alexander gets himself underway as he managed to recover by taking a bit of a later pit stop over other people. We also have Genie out very soon after. There's that very long drag out the pits, just seems to go on forever. We do have Alexander dropping a few positions currently to the likes of myself, Jace, Largent and stuff. So let's see where he comes out. He comes out P5, I believe. Is Tiemo going to be able to make the move there? Yes, he probably is. With Genie in P7, so it's P6, P7 for the Suzukis once they're out the pits. Really not losing too much time there. Next up, it was time for myself to pit in from the lead. Now, the main cars I'm looking for is Demon, because obviously he's pitted. Jace also in the pits, as we essentially try and get ourselves back underway. So that's 1 and 2 pitted in. As you can see, Jace also getting himself away, staying pretty close to the Mazda throughout. But the main guy we're going to keep an eye on is Demon. I believe he's just coming down the straight now. Is he going to be able to get past myself and Jace? It's looking like he's just got himself past Jace on the pit. So let's see where he is. He's just there in the background, so we do have that one covered off for now at least. So on to lap 10, that was my pit stop, and we're coming out P1 but only just to the Genesis. So as we go on to lap 14, the battle's going to hot up, and Demon's going to try and make a move, finally getting himself on the back of the Mazda. So let's see, the brakes absolutely illuminating there. He does get into my door, and then we essentially go full bumper car. Who's going to get the best run up the hill and back down again? It's just going to be me, but I believe he's going to try and attempt to cut back there. Again, we're just trying to cover him off at this point, obviously wanting to win the race as we go on to the final lap. Now this is where the Genesis was much better than the Mazda. So let's see, we're going to go on the inside. He's going to take a wider line. Is he going to manage to get that cutback? We're trying to cover it off as we go up the hill. He's not going to get it done at that point. So let's see if we can get it done a little bit later on in the track. So as we go off the run down the hill, we're going to go a little bit further. He's going to give us a nice push in the back, which essentially sends us into a bit of a spin. We do then catch it on his car, and then he's going to give us a little tap in the door, and we go a little bit wide. So a bit of a cheeky move, but It's all about sportsmanship, this racing league, and he is going to give us that position back. So we are going to win the race. So great sportsmanship from Demon. So it's going to be myself P1, Demon at P2. Jace is going to take a very solid P3 in the final pit stop race, getting himself on the podium. Great racing for BMW by him today. Alexander takes P4, so another good drive by him. Largent P5 with Genie in P6. Good result for Suzuki that. Tiemo P7, probably not the result he's been hoping for. Viper's going to take P8. Again, boosting Genesis's chance of winning the manufacturers. Steve takes P9 inside the top 10 with his teammate in P10. Jody P11 and Tomahawk P12. So only 12 cars finishing that race in the end. Great fun had by all, and that is our final race. So let's have a look at the Super Tourers. So it's myself that's won the championship with 805 points to Alexander in second with 665. Demon gets a very good third, so he's going to take the bronze medal essentially. 624 points for him. Largent 605. Again, great result by him. Consistent all season. Jace is the best of the rest with 515. Tiemo 440 in sixth. Viper 385. Genie 210. Hori 209. The Binners here 194. Archangel 193. Steve 154. Adam 125. Jody gets P14 with 85 points. Empire on 80, Tommy Hawk on 76, Andy on 64, Vinny Bear on 52, Samurai Shepherd 43, Jiggle 15, Frogging Bullfish 8, K Ramsey 8, Psychic 8, and Reed takes the last position with 6 points. So there we have it. That is the individual table for the Super Tourers done and decided, with myself taking the championship there. So we have Tiemo winning the Mazdas, Alexander winning the Minis, and myself winning the Super Tourers by a decent margin, I'd say. I feel like I just had a great season in the Mazda, and I feel like it just kind of, you know, went rather quite well. Was kind of consistently always up there without any real kind of bad results, so that kind of helped us get that gap. So let's have a look at the manufacturers, and it's going to be Genesis winning it by getting into the 1,000-point category. So 1,044 points for Genesis. Suzuki, again, another great result, 927 in P2. Mazda 890, Subaru 730, BMW 618, Renault 588, Honda 417, and Toyota in 8th and last with 347. So well done to Genesis, well done to both Viper and Demon for winning the manufacturers. Our first ever manufacturer championship goes to them, so that means we have Tiemo, Alexander, myself, and Genesis of Demon and Viper winning at least one category each. So it's great to see different people winning different things. Thank you so much to everyone that's joined me. So let's go into a little bit of a thank you message to everybody, from, you know, everybody at the Racing League to all the viewers, really, for kind of making this such a great kind of test season. So yeah, thank you to everybody, the likes of Largent for helping with all the points, Alexander as well helping with all the points, everybody that really kind of took part and, you know, stayed with the league, although we did kind of have a few ups and downs throughout the season. It's been, you know, absolutely brilliant, and I feel like for a test season, I feel like we've all kind of learned a lot, and I feel like we kind of know where we want to take this league going forward for season 2. So I feel like my main goal with this, you know, whole season 1 thing was to really just test the waters, see what worked, see what didn't, and, you know, kind of get a bunch of people together every 2 weeks on a Sunday to have some, you know, racing and just some fun and a laugh, and for people to make new friends and kind of just make Gran Turismo 7 enjoyable to people that, you know, might be kind of, you know, a bit meh about it. And I feel like on that kind of level it's been an absolute you know, success, and I cannot wait to just, you know, expand everything with season 2, see some new faces and some returning faces, and just do it all over again on a much wider scale. So thank you so much to everybody, thank you to all the new friends that I made along the way, and I cannot wait to do it again for season 2. And yeah, I guess it's now time to, I guess, put a little teaser out there for season 2, as it'll be coming sooner rather than later. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry about the squeaky chair, by the way. See you later, guys. Peace.